Hey, my friends, it is Thursday, special edition Thursday. Building Wins Live, and we just could had to get a friend. We had him; he was going to be on a few weeks ago, and we had a little scheduling snafu all on our end. But Spencer Lund with Plant Powered Marketing was so kind to want to get back on the show, and so we just decided special edition Thursday made sense. So we're going to talk a lot about marketing, a lot about what he's doing in two different aspects: digital real estate, just some really fun stuff. He's coming to us live right now from Portland, Oregon, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He'll correct me in a minute. The other reason that this works good, and we'll talk about this with Spencer in a minute, is that we could do Fridays, but Spencer's usually out in the woods in the forest someplace in a some kind of a goofy, crazy little hammock all tucked in, and I think we need a little more explanation on that. But we'll be back in about 7 or 8 seconds with my friend Spencer Lund, so don't go away. There he is.
What's up, Randy?
Hey, not much, not much. Looks like the bumper didn't run there, so I was sitting here waiting for nothing. we could have had 7 seconds more to talk. Anyway, welcome, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, so I am correct, right? You are in Portland, Oregon area?
Yeah. So I say Portland just because we're on the other side of the river, Vancouver, Washington. So
Okay.
southwestern Washington. So yeah, Pacific Northwest, beautiful out here.
So give us a weather report, because I'm in Naples, Florida, so it's sunny and about 85 again and beautiful. Last week we had winter. We had the falling iguana. It was dangerous out there, and but we got through the falling iguana, and we got through freezing 35 degrees a couple nights, which in way down Southwest Florida, that's like unheard ofly stupid cold. But it's back, beautiful weather. And Wes, my director Wes, producer friend, pal, buddy that we talked with pre-show, is sitting in like 9 feet of snow, I think, in Central Ohio. So
Yeah.
what's the weather? What's the weather out in beautiful Vancouver, Washington? What am I call Portland?
It's 45 degrees and partly cloudy, and some rain showers.
Yeah, well, so normal for that time of year for that place, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's I mean, we're extremely green out here. So anybody that comes out and visits, they go, God, it's so beautifully green out here. And I'm like, yeah, it's because you know, it rains 6 months out of the year
here. And then it drizzles the other 6.
Actually, the summers are amazing usually out here.
Are
But
they?
we broke some records this past summer, 117 degrees for like 3 days in a row. It's horrible.
Wow.
Majority of people out here don't have air conditioning because we don't hardly ever see temperatures over, maybe some high 90s once in a while throughout the summer, but nothing over 100, let alone 117. So
wow, yeah, that had to be a shock for everybody. And humid too, or no? Is it humid up there in the mountains?
Nope, super dry.
That's what I'd think. Yeah, because you're probably up a ways. So, well, good.
Yeah.
Well, I've been looking forward to this chat for a while, and thank you for arranging to get back on with us today. I think the power of virtual, the power of social media, the power of whatever. You and I've got to know each other over the past, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 months now, or whatever it's been, and never met in person. Probably will someday, sooner or later, it'll happen. But I've grown to consider you a friend and somebody I respect what you do and what you bring. And so today we just want to talk a little bit about plant-powered marketing. But first, if you want, you want to tell a little bit about who the man behind plant-powered marketing. Who is Spencer Lund?
Sure. So about 10 years ago, it was actually 10 years in October, I opened a farmer's insurance agency out here in the Portland, Oregon market. After knocking doors for 2 years, selling steaks, frozen steaks door to door, I found this gift of sales. And so about 3 years into my insurance agency, I realized that people weren't advertising, through the yellow pages anymore. They weren't putting ads in newspapers. Everything was going Facebook. Facebook was the big thing. And so I started kind of dabbling with Facebook marketing within my insurance agency. And I just really fell in love with marketing. and helping people grow their businesses. And so in 2019, while owning my insurance agency, we started Plant Powered Marketing, and really just been making other people's phones ring, like our website says. We do have some focuses, where we're focusing on a lot of the local style marketing, things that are actually, because over the course of the years, I mean, I'm not going to try to get too technical, but over the course of the years, you used to be able to rank number one in a whole city. You could say, yes, I rank number one in this city. And no matter where you're at within that city, you're ranking number one. Well, Google has over the course of the years have become very, very localized. So, you're in Naples, Florida, Randy, and every part of Naples. So every neighborhood you could go to, depending on where your GPS location is, and you Google whatever it is, tacos near me, it's going to give you a different result, because they know that people don't want to drive across town to go get the tacos if there's a taco shop that's really good that's close to them. So fast forward to really figuring out the localized marketing within the insurance agency. We really found this gap within the contracting niche, of where a lot of contractors are amazing at the trade that they do. They're great at building the most beautiful house or putting the most beautiful roof on, but they're just not good at knowing how to market themselves, because this, I don't know. Like I have conversations with them like, how do you usually get your business? Oh, referrals. Oh, okay. Well, what if you wanted to put another crew out there? Like, what are you going to do? And they're kind of, they don't know what to do. And so that's where I come into play. We're able to help people grow their businesses with getting them ranked on Google. Obviously, it's always our goal to get people ranked number one on Google. But depending on the marketplace, it can be challenging. So that's a little bit of background. So, Plant Powered Marketing has been around since 2019, and actually, I'm changing. COVID kind of sped things up, and when the pandemic first happened, I wasn't going to my insurance agency office. And I said, man, this is really nice. Not commuting to the city, and not having to deal with that traffic and everything. And some other circumstances happened to where we're in the process selling the insurance agency, and just, really just focusing on the marketing company and helping people grow their businesses.
Perfect. So, and that's interesting how you, as that's one of the things I always find is almost every guest I talk to, I do love that the idea of, unfortunately, good or bad, we're in this almost pre and during and post pandemic mindset, right? It is what it is. It changed a lot for a lot of people. Some
Yeah.
people that didn't change with it, maybe not for the best, possibly. Maybe, or they didn't have the best results. Maybe the people that adapted and adopted and changed to, and took what was given to them, took what was there, have really turned a corner and not necessarily missed a beat, right? And I know I did a lot of changing in my world. We was talking pre-show about being kind of the old school road warrior, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I use the hashtag all the time, hashtag Road Warrior Randy, because that's been my life for 4+ decades. And we already know a secret, so don't let my secret about how far over 4+ decades that is. But because Wes will cut you immediately, he knows. But anyway, but with that said, made a lot of changes, and be interesting, and it's interesting, and you kind of a nice little segue into that, how you saw not going into the office. And as an insurance agent, that's sort of where you're supposed to be, right? I mean, that's
Yeah. I mean,
when.
I
So
guess
tell me about that.
it depends on the company. There's a lot of people, and it's generational. Business has changed a lot. When I started 10 years ago, there was a lot more people who wanted to come in and shake your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it seems like so much of it's done through. It's so strange. I'm meeting with an insurance client here later this afternoon to talk life insurance through Zoom.
Sure.
I didn't think I'd ever have that conversation through Zoom. And it's the Blockbuster style, or the Borders bookstore. These people, that the companies that don't want to, you know, do the red box style. Blockbuster said no, we're not going to do that. And then next thing you know, there's one Blockbuster out here in Bend, Oregon left. And same thing happened with a lot of other companies that just don't want to change. So for me, it's the change. For me, has been I'm only going to change when it's something that's going to benefit my life.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's if I don't have to go do that commute, and I can figure out ways of bettering my life, and making more money, and not having to commute, and be able to lay out in my hammock more, like you talked about. Like that's definitely the life. And so what I found is the marketing company allows me to have more passive income, more like this basically bought my time back. I don't want to
Okay.
sit behind a desk for 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours a day. And then when you go on vacation, you don't really feel like you're going on vacation, because you have all these problems, that you can't really take care of because you're not there at the office, if that makes sense.
Right.
So, what I found is through the pandemic, some of the trips that we went on, it was really nice just to be able to work virtually, take care of my marketing clients, while traveling. We were in LA and San Francisco, a couple times here last year, and it was enjoyable. And for me, it's life is about buying your time back, not just being you know working all the dang time.
Right. Right. Well, and I find that's very interesting, because I know that's our mutual friend now, but my friend Wes, our producer director here, he does a podcast um, about that talks about Wes. I know you're listening because I can see you. Pop up the name of your podcast on there so everybody can see it. But he talks a lot about the autonomy and the flexibility and the freedom of doing your own thing, right?
Mm.
And if you can find a way to do your own thing, to be more flexible, to have more freedom, because there's a funny thing about time, right? We all get there's X number of hours, and how do we market you first? There we go. Great podcast that Wes does. I'd recommend it to anybody. And he talks strictly about that. Market yourself first. What can I do to put myself out there? What can I do to buy more time back, like you're talking about? And I know I found, and it sounds like you did also, Spencer, that once I learned what I was doing, went through a little learning curve. The good news, I had time for the learning curve, because back 2 years ago, when I couldn't travel at all, I had 100% time to invest in a new way, because I was the atypical, if you will. When I talk about being an old school road warrior, I'm talking week after week after week after week after week, heading out Sunday evening, Monday morning at 5:30, back Saturday night, boom, boom, boom. So all of a sudden, I had all this time because I couldn't
Yeah,
go anywhere,
yeah,
and I used that to my advantage to find ways to do a lot more stuff. I do a lot more of these kind of things, having podcasts, and a lot more social media, and a lot more Zoom calls, and a lot more uh, uh, text and email videos, and all those things that we all know that 2 years ago, prior to this, I probably still wouldn't be doing it.
of
But
course.
you
Yeah,
but
'cause
you
you're forced into it.
you're forced into it. And a word that I like to use, I use for myself sometimes, it is really become, for me, as a force multiplier. And
Mhm.
it sounds like you see that also. It's not just changing, but you're actually accomplishing more, are you not? Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
the
of
new
course.
way.
Making more money, like helping a lot more people. I feel, a lot more businesses were able to help, as well as I bought my time back. So, my commute was always somewhere around an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how bad traffic was. That you're sitting in a car,
Wow.
not doing any. Like, what am I supposed to do while I'm driving a car? I can't. I mean, I guess I could be on phone calls, closing deals, but yeah, I mean, I able to do that. Not working from home and not going to an office allows me to be a lot more flexible. My kids see me a lot more.
Hmm.
Uh, Relationships. My family sees me a lot more in general. So I
Right.
think it's beneficial.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So let's drill down then. You've got, we talked earlier, you have two ways that you're assisting your customers.
Yeah,
Let's take whichever
yeah.
one first, and let's tell everybody what you're doing, and maybe somebody out there watching this, either live or on replay, maybe this will trip the trigger, and they'll want to call up Spencer Lund and get some help.
Yeah, so 50% I would say of plant powered marketing is helping other people grow their business. And then the other 50% of it is our own personal assets, and I'll go into that here um, after we talk about growing other people's businesses. But we found this niche within the contracting world, the trades businesses, where guys really they need help with growing their companies. And so, if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see a software that I use called a heat map software. It actually tells you with these little dots, colorful dots, of where you're ranking for specific keywords in specific parts of the city that you're in. So, for example, that's all tied off of a Google My Business listing. So, let's say Randy's Roofing. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Randy'sRoofing.com. The Randy's Roofing's Google My Business listing is right there in Naples, Florida, and it's going to show people the heat map of, if you're in this part of Naples and you Google roofer or roofing company or whatever the keywords are that you want to be ranking for, and we do a lot of research to find out exactly what the keywords people are searching for. We use tools that say, roofer is searched 200,000 times a month throughout the whole United States. So, that's probably something you want to be ranking for. And so we'll get the ranking. So we help, assist with whatever the issues are. We don't do a cookie cutter, one size fits all type of thing. A lot of times people will reach out and say, well, what's your cheapest package, or what's your package? Yeah, exactly. So, that's an example. It was November is when we first pulled that heat map for hot water heater replacement, and then I just pulled one today. Um,
Hmm.
and you can see the red is what it used to be in the spots of he was ranking 20 or 18, 16, 20 plus, and now the whole idea is to rank is to have that map turn green, because if you're turn green, you're sitting in what they call the map pack, which is spots 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
And it's sad, Randy. People have gotten extremely lazy. They won't even click into page 1 these days on Google. So, if you know what the map pack is, it's the map and then the 3 listed people for
Mm-hmm.
whatever you searched. And then below that is, it says click here for more. That's clicking into page 1 on Google. So majority of the time, what I tell my clients is, if you're not within that top 3, you're losing out a lot of business, because typically people just call from the top 3 down. They're getting bids. So if you're looking for a new roof from, down there in Naples, you're going to just call the top 3 down, have them come out, give you bids, and go with one of those 3 people. So being on the top 3 is definitely the spot to be. Our goal is obviously always to get our clients to rank number 1 and dominate marketplaces. And we have strategies to where we have companies that say, hey, I want to dominate blah blah area. We have example epoxy company out here in Portland that says they're a newer company, but he wants to dominate the whole market. They want to be the number 1 epoxy company in the whole city of Portland, and we're talking all the suburbs and everything. And so we're currently working on that for them. So we have strategies to help your own personal company dominate Google. And then the other aspect of things that we do is we have about 50, I call them properties. It's kind of weird to think about this, but properties, AKA websites, we call them, digital assets throughout the whole country, where what I do is I go in and I will rank a website. We call it a lead generation website, where it may be something like OKCDeckandFence.com. So Oklahoma City Deckandfence.com.
Mm-hmm.
We rank that bad boy number 1, or within the top 3 for a lot of the keywords like deck builder, deck contractor, fence builder, things like that. Once we get that thing ranking, then I reach out to a local contractor there in the Oklahoma City marketplace, and say, hey, I got this website, it's producing, X amount of leads per month, and I rent it back to them.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's an example would be like, like to really kind of make this clear would be like if I was a landlord for a real estate property,
Hmm.
I just, I go buy properties that are, uh, good properties that people would want to rent, and I buy them and then I rent them out. And we do that all throughout the country. It's another way that people will dominate. We can help them dominate markets, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of times, Randy, yes, people do care about, Randy's Roofing as their company name, but at the end of the day, when NaplesRoof.com is bringing in some more traffic, they don't really care, because it's money in their pocket.
Right. So, that's a pretty unique and interesting. And I know when we talked about this back weeks ago, that's pretty unique. I don't know if you're the only one doing that, but boy, you got to be one of the few that's doing that. That's a pretty unique approach, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. It's catching on more and more. There's more and more people that are doing this type of thing. But the one thing to remember is that you always have Google that's trying to make guys like me not be successful. And so if we think about the mindset of Google, Google pushes everybody to buy Google Ads. They want people to
Hmm.
pay to play. And so they're constantly changing a lot of things out there. They're constantly telling people like, hey, like we're not going to show you exactly or tell you exactly how to rank on Google. And so, the one thing that I love about the marketing business is that I have the opportunity to continue to stay sharp,
Right.
and it's never going to get monotonous. That's the one thing I love. The insurance business, it's, I hate to say it, but it hasn't changed in 10 years, Randy.
Right.
It probably hasn't changed in 40 years.
Right.
It's you're buying a product. The product hasn't changed. It's the same product. It's just who you're buying it from. If you're buying it from Spencer Lund or if you're buying it from Geico.
Hmm.
Um, and so with the marketing business, Google changes almost on a daily uh, with things, and so you have to stay sharp with things. So yeah, it is a unique approach, most definitely. But and a lot of people, they give up on it because Google's constantly changing. There's a lot of friction because Google doesn't want us doing what we're doing when it comes to our rental properties. They want legitimate businesses in those spots, dominating marketplaces, which, you know, I guess you could call it a little bit of gray area,
Uh,
but a lot of marketing is gray.
right.
Yeah.
Well, so it's clear listening to that the it was easy to understand how a let's say a novice as opposed to a pro like yourself could get frustrated, could give up. He's tossed a bunch of money into Google ads and he's still not getting much
Yeah.
because and just call it a day and give up and go back to posting a billboard or something. And not saying a billboard's bad. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it'd be easy for him to give up. And it's kind of it leads me back to something you and I talked about prior to coming on live was when I started doing these shows, I was smart enough to hire a professional, Wes Wyatt, to
Yeah.
do this stuff for me, and and I think that's really important here that they could probably do this for cheaper than paying you, I assume, because they just do it themselves.
Yeah.
But is that cheaper if they're getting no response, if they're getting nothing for their dollars, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you come into play because because I'm thinking that they might think they're doing something good, but by the time they start seeing even a little thing happening, I get a lead here or there, it's changed 10 times, and you're going to stay on top of that and be changing 10 times where they're going to be sitting there. I would be sitting there myself going, well, I don't know, I got 3 leads in the last month. I guess I'm doing good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, Randy, a lot of times people just they don't even know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look at their Google My Business listing, and only 10% of it's been filled out, and they're going, well, I don't know why I'm not getting leads from Google. And I'm like, well, it's because you need to optimize it, like fully go. Well, what's that mean? Well, I mean, I'm not going to show you exactly how to do it, because then you're giving the keys to the castle away. But
Right.
the thing is that there's a lot of power out there that yes, the contractor could be doing themselves, but honestly, I don't know anything about putting on a roof or building a deck or doing anything like that. And for me to say I'm going to go do that, Randy, that's laughable.
Mm-hmm.
So when a contractor says I'm going to go build my own website or I'm going to go do my own marketing, I say good luck. Because at the end of the day, I'm a smart enough business owner, and I'm sure that the guys that are tuning into this, they understand what their time's worth. I don't want to go learn how to build a new deck. It's just not something that's in my bucket list, or learn how to put a roof on. I'm going to stay to what I know, and the things that I don't want to do and I don't know how to do, I'm going to hire out.
Right.
And I'm going to buy my time back by going, okay, I don't know how to build websites, which I do, but they're not the prettiest looking things. That's why I hired a team to build my websites. Like that's the smart thing to do. Instead of I can be over here for the next 5 years learning how to build the most beautiful website, but that's not the best use of my time, and it's not the best for my money.
Exactly. I just want to give a shout out, excuse me, to my buddy Barry Broxman jumped on. Happy Thursday, my friend.
What's up, Barry?
Barry's a good man. He's a bud. We worked together. One of the manufacturers that I represent, Barry's out in Kansas, Missouri. I don't know where he is out there. He's out somewhere in God's country, as he calls it. But anyway, thanks for the continued support, my friend. So the whole idea that I can't stop thinking about as we talk about the idea of, I put it in terms of a doctor, of an accountant, whatever. You don't self-medicate yourself. Some people do, but you don't. Probably shouldn't do your own books, maybe, if it's complicated at all, right? I mean, you hire professionals to do these things to A, keep you out of trouble, and to B, to optimize, as you used earlier. If you're going to spend X dollars, you want to get the most you can out of it, and maybe X, and you spend X plus, you get 10 times more. And those are conversations that make sense versus just looking at, I'm going to do this on the cheap, because if I get sick, I kind of like a doc to give me something that actually is going to make me better.
Yeah.
My using the term, but my Googling that and going to the drugstore, wandering around, buying a couple things, I might as well save my money, right? And it seems like that's what you're doing with. You might knock the symptoms down and get rid of the cough or whatever, but you're not gonna make yourself any better. And I think that's what what I'm hearing you say is it goes people like plant powered marketing, and you're going to get the real deal and you're going to get the real bang for the buck. And if you're not going to do that, why you bother doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's just like contractors, marketers get a bad rep, and so a lot of that has to do with marketers have taken people's money and said that they're doing things and things like that. And for me and with my clients, Randy, I want to make sure that we're super data driven. Marketing should be data driven. It's a lot of the numbers. It's a lot of like, okay, Spencer, so you say you're doing SEO for me. Prove it. Okay, let me show you, Randy. Hey, Spencer, I'm giving you X amount of money per month. What are you doing for me? Yeah, let me show you, Randy. This is what your heat map, it's great that this software exists where I can say, oh, this is what your heat map looked like, 3 weeks ago. And this is where, and normally like most of my clients, they don't have to have me show that, because most of the time on the other end, the phone's ringing
right
from people going, yeah, we found you on Google. Oh man, it's always great to have those phone calls from my clients. They're like, man, I'm getting phone calls from people from Google. Like, that's awesome. So for me, I'm just always, you get what you pay for type of thing. And when you're out there and you're determining on, should I spend, I don't know, 5 to 10 hours trying to figure out optimizing a Google My Business page. And maybe I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe I'll hit a homer. Maybe I won't. Like, to me as a business owner, that's not the best use of your time. Just pay a guy like me. And then we prove results. And sometimes people, they'll start off with just a Google My Business optimization, and see how that goes. And they go, oh man, this guy actually knows what the hell he's doing. Oh, well, how about we redo our website? How about we have you do SEO for us? Hey, how about you run some ads for us? And it's just this, stepping,
Hmm.
up, I guess, up the ladder, until they're dominating markets, and they're sitting there with a pocket full of money. The funniest thing I ever hear from contractors, Randy, is people that say that they don't want to do marketing anymore. Like, oh, marketing, that doesn't work. I don't need to do that anymore. Like, what do you got, a bank full of money or what? Your bank account can't take any more money?
Right.
Because honestly, it doesn't matter what you're selling these days. You have to be in front of people. And for us, it's what I really love is the organic piece of it. So yes, anybody could go out there, they could buy Google ads, or Facebook ads, and try to get seen a lot more. But for us, the biggest piece is, how can I get you organically ranking there, so that you don't have to continue to pay every month to play. And
Okay.
also, if you're organically ranking, you're going to be there a lot longer than just turning on an ad and off. So
Right. Well, so talk about uh, obviously you're building websites.
mhm.
How much are you incorporating, excuse me, a fair amount of social media in this process as well, or is it how's that all playing into each other?
So yeah, I mean, we'll incorporate it. Like, a lot of times it seems like a lot of contractors that are doing projects, they'll be posting on Instagram. That seems to be their main focus, is like, hey, we post all our projects on Instagram. Can we now have those projects just automatically post to our website? Yes, we can do that. And when we build your website out, we can add that in there. And so, yeah, there is a little bit of social media involved, but most of it is what we call on-page SEO, so meaning on the website SEO, where we're really pushing what Google really wants to see on your guys' website is a lot of keyword and niche specific content.
Okay.
So when you go to a website, whenever I look at a website, I want to look at the website like I'm the dumbest person ever, because these are computers that are crawling these websites. So if you guys don't know, like, Google bots is what they call them. They'll crawl your website, is another term. They crawl it. It takes usually about every 3 months or so. They'll crawl the website, 2 to 3 months. So so they'll crawl it, and what they'll do is they'll take that information and would then put it in their database to tell exactly what this company does. So when I look at websites, I have to pretend I'm a Google crawler and go, okay, like, this is a roofing website. I can tell that. Okay, great. Now, what type of roofs do they do? Do they do metal roofs? Do they do just shingle? What are the roofs that they do? What types? And where do they do it at? Oh, they do it in Naples. Okay, they do it in Tampa. They do it in St. Pete. Okay, and that's very clear on their website. So those are the things that people, that we really focus on, is when we're building out websites, is making sure that there's, number one, enough content, meaning, uh, you know, we like to build out websites that are 1,500 to 2,000 words of content, and then about 250 words for each service that they mention on the homepage, blurbs.
Okay.
And then internally, we'll build out pages that are, you know, 500 to 750 words of content for each, asphalt roofing, asphalt shingle roofing, metal roofing, each service. So content's king, when you guys are building your sites, as well as the location and niche specific content. So if a person looks at your website and they can't tell what you do and where you do it at, and you just want to sit there and tell about about us, about the owner, and this and that, you're probably not going to rank high. And so there's ways that we do things, Randy, where we're looking at those keywords that people are searching for. We want to make sure that's included in the content, the location, the services, everything like that, is more powerful than any social media stuff that's on there.
And so a person, if you look at it, if I go and start Googling, I ought to be able to know within seconds of where you're at, what you do, and if you meet my basic criteria, what I'm looking for, correct?
Yeah.
And because and I don't know if it happens as much in the website world that you're working in, but I find as I look at stuff just because I'm interested in it more than anything, but on social media, going back to that, it's
Hmm.
amazing how many people do a nice job. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good content. It's visually attractive, but I'm going, where are you guys? It's literally where are you? I can't figure out. Are you in Naples, Florida, or San Antonio, Texas, or Portland, Oregon? And the more so then I get inquisitive just because that's me, and I just sort of involved in this world a little bit.
Hmm.
And it's like I realize that I'm doing this because I'm inquisitive, and I give up after about the second or third attempt to figure out where they're at.
Yeah.
The actual customer gave up long before that, right?
Yeah.
And and probably, but again, that's back to working with a professional because they're obviously not working. I'm assuming with a professional in their social media world, because a guy like Wes that does a lot of stuff for me, he would never allow that to happen for somebody not to know who Randy is, where he's at, and what he does. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he'd club me side to head if I did that. But at the same, and rightfully so. But it's amazing, and so again, that goes back to why you hire pros to look at that and go, okay, yeah, it's great pictures, beautiful roof, man, you got lots of stuff to show, but nobody has any idea where you're at, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, and we're not talking about just just Google. We're talking about the consumer too.
Mm.
Like if the consumer's lost, there's something that's called bounce rate. So if a person lands on your website and they look and they're like, well, God, I can't tell if this guy's in Naples or San Antonio or Portland, and they bounce off that website, Google's going to punish you. And because if we think about Google's job, I know this might be a little bit too deep for
Oh,
for
go ahead.
people, but if we think about Google's job, if you have a brick and mortar location and somebody requests directions to we'll just use a roofing shop, and they come to that roofing shop, and you're the number one guy on Google, and they get directions there, and then Google notices, because Google knows all this, you guys. Like when I say Google notices this, like Google knows every move that you guys are making. So then they request directions to, like, let's say the number two ranking roof shop, and then from the number two roofing web, then let's just, I guess we'll just stop it right there. Then Google says, okay, why did Randy go to the number one ranking roofing shop and then didn't get whatever he needed service wise, and he left? That tells us that maybe we shouldn't be ranking that company as number one, because Randy just went there, he didn't get what he needed. And then I noticed Tom did it, and then Larry did it as well. So something's going on there. They're going to take that number two guy and rank him higher. And so if we think about this, um, like Google's job is to take care of the customer or the person or whatever you want to say, like almost one-stop shopping. Like, this is the number one guy. Okay, yes, we know they got what they needed. Perfect. Google's done their job. Now, if Tom is the guy that's been in business now 35 years with a roofing company and hasn't done anything social media wise, done any marketing, do you think Google's going to rank you number one when this guy's over here doing everything that Google says that they need to do, and they got lots of reviews, and Tom's over there, oh, I've been doing this for years, 4 generations, but Google doesn't care, because at the end of all of it, if you're not doing the things currently that Google wants you to do, like today, not yesterday, because those things have changed with Google, that you need to be doing this stuff today, they're not going to rank you as high. It's just the world we live in. It's Amazon's kind of made that pretty apparent, that there's a lot of things that we thought people cared about, and we as humans don't care about them like we used to.
Right, right. Yeah, I made a note because something interesting and I wrote down must tell, and maybe the last thing we'll chat about before we kind of wrap up with anything that we haven't touched on. But
Yeah.
you talked about contractors or any business um, thinking, well, I get recommendations and I've been doing this forever, and my dad did it and my grandpa did it, and everybody just knows who we are. But
Yeah.
in I'm going to tell you my take, and then tell me if I'm right or wrong. In today's world, that's all good, but you've got 1,000 other people in that same segment, and it's if they're telling them better that I am better,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to lose even if you might be better if you're not telling the person daily by the minute that, hey, I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm pretty darn good at what I do. So I think my point is, I think a lot of people that don't maybe understand or buy into or grasp um, marketing and the importance of it, it's like, man, if you don't tell people like literally by the second, I'm still here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still pretty good, and boy, you ought to call me. You're gonna get you're gonna get sideswiped by the guy that comes in tomorrow and says, "Oh, hey, I'm here and I'm pretty good too," right?
Yeah, and
But
and you're absolutely right. If we think about the culture we live in, Randy, um, since I brought up Amazon, we'll take Amazon for example. So we live in this culture of reviews. Reviews basically on any business, if it's Yelp, if it's Amazon, if it's Google, it doesn't matter. Especially with the Gen Xers and the millennials, which is who you are advertising to nowadays. Most guys like Randy, they're not on social media. They're not doing this, the computer stuff. It's just not
right,
their generation. So when we start looking at the Xers and millennials, even if this is the craziest thing, even if you are ranking number one, but the number two guy has way more reviews for whatever reason. Like, so reviews is not, yes, it is a factor of who ranks, but there's several times that the guy that's sitting at number two has more reviews than the number one guy. But I bet you if you look at the call volume, that the number two guy is probably getting a lot more calls because of this generation is now so pre-programmed to look at the reviews itself.
hmm,
They look at the reviews, they go, oh, this guy's got 1,500 reviews and that other company only has 800. They must be better. Let me call the
gotcha,
1,500 guy.
gotcha.
So, I encourage all these contractors that are listening, that are tuning in, to make sure that you guys are getting regular reviews. And I'll drop this. The best review that Google says, this is a golden nugget here, so is the location. So whatever the city, area, neighborhood is that the service contractor came out and did, or sorry, where they did it at, and then what the service was that they provided, and then also pictures. So hey, I had Randy from Randy's Roofing come out to my house here in Naples, Florida. They put on a brand new, beautiful roof, and they did an amazing job. And then I do like a before and after picture. That's the ideal review that you want from your client. So if you're working with a reputation management company like ours, like we do reputation management, where we're actually sending out text and emails to clients, customers, however you want to address them, and then encouraging them to go back over to Google and leave that most ideal review. Because when you get those consistently coming in, Google says, "Oh my God, like Randy's Roofing, they're killing it. We got to rank them higher than Spencer's Roofing. They know what they're doing over there." So yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to think about this. Like the philosophy or the psychology, I guess I should say, behind all of it is really interesting.
That is. It's interesting. Well, my friend, that was very enlightening
Yeah.
and very interesting. You're a true pro at what you're doing, and we've been running scrolling across the bottom of the screen, so anybody can, and they watch on replay, go back, pick up how to get a hold of how to get a hold of Spencer Lund. Hey, Tim Lord, hybrid Randy, you betcha, buddy. Um, but so parting words, my friend. Wes is going to pop up. See, he knows where I'm going to come. I'm going to see if he gets it. There it is. That's how quick he is. What should I have asked today of Spencer Lund about this whole world of marketing that I failed to ask?
Man, I think we've covered it. It's so, like I said, it's just so much not a cookie cutter thing, Randy. If anybody wants me to run a free audit of their business, have them reach out to me either by any of these ways here scrolling across the bottom of the screen from Wes. Reach out to me, and we'll definitely get to see exactly how you're doing on Google. Because a lot of times what I find is it's very shocking. People go, "Hi, I Google myself. I show up good."
Yeah.
well, because you're didn't looking for. So there's a lot of things like that. But yeah, man, and then just parting words, man. Just make sure that you guys are enjoying life and taking care of your doing some self care. As Randy knows, I'm out in the woods on a
Yes.
weekly basis.
Tell us about that.
Uh,
We got to end with that one. We
call it.
got to end with that one. I should have had a picture for
Well,
that, but that's okay. Tell me about your weekend, the Friday in the forest. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
man. So I'm sure Wes will pop up a picture here in a second, but yeah. So it was about 5 months into the pandemic, and a lot of us going through a lot of challenges. Life had changed a lot. My girlfriend is a COVID long hauler, which if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's somebody that has long term effects left over from COVID. And at the period of time, she was still 80% bedridden after
Hmm.
having COVID. And I had a conversation with my therapist. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm drowning over here, just absolutely drowning. And he goes, well, this was after me telling him like all these other duties that I had to take on as a partner, as a dad, all these things that changed in the household, plus owning two businesses, and really like we were actually when the pandemic happened, we were actually fairly busy still with the marketing company. Like I was shocked that because there was so many people that couldn't go into houses depending on the niche that you did and things like that, where we were still actually growing fairly quickly as a company. um, anyway, my therapist said, well, what are you doing for self-care? And I was like, man, maybe you didn't hear me the last half hour. Dean, like I don't have the time. Like what are you talking about? I just told you all this pressure and all this extra stuff. And so um, he said, man, you know what really helped me was going out to the woods. And he goes, I just go out to the woods. He goes, prior to the pandemic, I'd go out there and I'd sleep one night a week in the woods. And I'm like, man, dude, like, that's kind of extreme. I said, well, tell me about this. Tell me a little bit more. He goes, well, just a hammock and this and that. And like, what are we looking at cost wise? He's like, you probably pick all this stuff for like $150 at REI. I'm like, okay, cool.
Hey,
Yeah.
there he is.
uh, so every Friday, like honestly, probably 90% of the Fridays, and even if it's not on Friday, sometimes if I have appointments or Jen, my girlfriend, has doctor's appointments, I have to get her to. I do at least once a week. I go out to the woods. I have this same spot that I go to. It's off trail. It's by a waterfall, and just allows me to spend some time out there by myself. A lot of people go, so what do you do out there? Like you just sit out there by yourself and do nothing? I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like growing up as a kid, I used to hear like peace and quiet. Like, why don't you kids get out of here so I can have some peace and quiet? And that's literally peace and quiet. When I first started going out there, I was able to give myself permission to not think about anything. Oh, that email. Oh, I got to send that email to Randy. Nope, nope, not right now. Oh, you got to do the laundry. Oh, yeah, not right now. Oh, what are you cooking for dinner? All these things that pop into your head. Nope,
Mhm.
not right now. So depending on the season, I'm out there usually 4 to 6 hours.
Are you? Wow.
I'll sit out there, lay out there, meditate, and then just take a nap, listen to the critters, listening to everything. It's amazing. The one thing that I'll share this before we end, because I think it's really interesting. Something that people don't really probably even think about or realize. So every time I was out there, when I first got out there, I would listen to the birds out there in the woods, and whenever like a siren, because I am fairly close to the city still, but far enough away, but close enough that it's not taking me forever to get to where I go. Or like a helicopter would fly over or something. The tone of the birds, like their volume would increase in the forest. And I
Hmm.
thought to myself, wow, that's interesting. I never would have guessed that their chirps got louder. So they could, they're basically projecting across the woods. Once the siren's gone, then it's down back to normal. I'm like, that is really
Wow.
cool, man. So like, I just really I grew up in Montana for the first 14 years of my life. Was surrounded by some of the probably the most beautiful part of the country ever. Didn't appreciate it, and really just fell back in love with the woods and just being out in nature. Yeah, and rain or shine, I'm out there. I take a sleeping bag and what I call a rain fly, which is basically a fancy name for a tarp that I put over the top of myself, and I'm out there. I mean, we had snow here. We were down in the 20s, and I was still out there. It's changed me as a person, and I would encourage anybody to, like. I know it sounds super hippie and weird, but I did encourage whatever you guys enjoy to actually start to figure it out and do some self care for yourself.
No, no, I think that's great advice because it's real easy to get wrapped up on all this other stuff, whatever it is, right? And
Yeah,
and there's it's kind of almost the the airplane mask, right? You get on, what do they tell you? Something happens, you put your own mask on first, right?
hmm
And I think that's a little bit of what you're saying is if you don't put your own mask on first once in a while, take that deep breath or two. You
yeah.
can't do the things with your business. You can't do the things for your girlfriend. You can't do the things for your, as a daughter, right? You have a daughter, if I'm not mistaken.
Twins. I have twins that
Twins.
are
Okay.
twin girls that are 10. Yeah,
Cool.
it's one of those things like, yeah, you're exactly right. If you're not, like, how can I expect myself to be the best partner and the best dad if I'm not taking care of myself? And it's like the concept of you don't have the time, but yet you don't have the time not to.
Right.
Oh, I don't have the time to eat healthy. Eventually something's going to catch up. It's
Right.
the doctor's visits or whatever the
Hmm.
case is. So for me, it's noticeable. It's noticeable change in my mood. It allows me to just refresh, recharge, and then tackle life some more.
Awesome. Good advice, my friend.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
buddy, I appreciate the time very much. It's always great chatting with you. Appreciate all you do. And anybody that wants to reach out to Spencer, check out any of the ways on the podcast here, or worst case, shoot me a messenger on LinkedIn or Facebook or email or carrier pigeon or however you want to do it, and I'll make sure you get in touch with him because Spencer's the real deal. And outside of that, I'm going to let you think about. Well, you don't go to the woods today. You're going to the woods tomorrow, so we got a good day.
Oh,
We
yeah.
should do a live from the woods someday. Wouldn't that be fun?
Well, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, done it.
I go out there, I silence everything. Technology's gone, which is
Yep.
difficult for me, right? Because I run a company that's digital,
Right.
so
Right.
it's like my team's messaging me. I'm like, nope, sorry,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
got to,
Got to take that time.
yeah,
Perfect. All right, buddy. Spencer, I appreciate my friend.
yeah. Thanks, Randy.
All right, pal. See ya.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend. Spencer Lund. Get into contact with this guy if you want to talk more about Google, about marketing your company. The guy's the real deal, and hope you enjoyed that. And this is a twofer week because tomorrow we're going to have a regular scheduled program with a friend of mine that I met a few months ago, Brian Sexton. Brian, there he is, honored me to be on his Intentional Encourager podcast that he's done several billion, I think, somewhere around there. He's the host of that, the Intentional Encourager podcast. He's an author of a book called People Buy from People, and one of the great conversations that we had when I was on his podcast a few weeks ago that we'll definitely dig into here tomorrow. That we have in common is we both talk a lot about where we got our start in the world of sales, and Brian's very much in the world of sales, and his dad and his influence on his life, which is run some very similarities to my upbringing and how I got involved in this incredibly fun world that I operate in. So you're going to enjoy Brian very much. He's first class dude, and that'll be tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So don't miss that. And then just a quick shout out, which we'll shout out tomorrow, but another busy week next week. We got three next week. Wes is shaking his head. I can see him in the background. I think he's doing one of these things, but that's okay. Just I know he's doing all these things is what he's doing. Wes, it's okay. We'll get through it. But anyway, I just got a little time at home right now between a lot of travel coming up, and I just got a lot of great guests coming up that I just want to get on the air and get everybody to hear some good folks. So that's some good conversation. So anyway, that's it. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you sharing this out to anybody and everybody. And we will see you again tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here live. Cheers.